PIP, performance improvement plan, right? And if you're put on a performance improvement plan, the company is just preparing to fire you. It means that you've upset someone in senior management. Maybe they don't like your personality. They just don't like you for whatever reason. And what they're going to do is put you on a performance improvement plan. And over 6 months, they're just going to track your performance, find any small issues with it, and use that as justification to fire you without paying you any type of layoff money, severance package, things like that. So this is the reality of dealing with the corporate world.
PIP plan as requested with the following tips in mind. Well, first of all, assess the document for objectivity. Pay attention to the content of the PIP plan because it should include the exact performance issues, the exact expectations and objectives, schedules and metrics. And if you are lucky, the plan will also include the strategy that will help you to achieve all this. If something in the PIP document is false or inaccurate, bring it to your HR's attention, your manager's attention in a written form, because a written response will be attached to your PIP plan and any inaccuracies would get documented. To be on the safe side, in case the plan is not objective, you can actually sign the document and add a disclaimer indicating that your signature acknowledges the receipt of the agreement, but it doesn't indicate that you agree with the content and with the terms. And basically, an employer will give you around 20 business days, which is 1 month.
So this is an important point. She's addressing the legality of signing those type of agreements, right? Because legally, you've got to basically work for an employer and agree to whatever they say. What you got to do is agree to do your job, but not agree to any false narratives that they're manufacturing about your performance. And this can protect you in the future if you have a employee litigation type issue with the company. You're kind of defending your position, maybe through a labor union, things like that. So when you sign it, add any disclaimers you want. And I've dealt with similar situations like this. As she mentioned, review the document, assess it for objectivity. Any performance issues, anything they're saying about you that you don't think is accurate in the past of your performance, saying, oh, we're going to put you on a PIP, we're going to put you on a performance improvement plan because, oh, you're not a team player. Then what you should do when you are signing that agreement, saying, well, I'm signing up to perform at these standards set out in the objectives, but I have demonstrated I'm a team player on the basis of these projects I've worked on in the past with many other team members. So you're protecting yourself from their negative narrative about what you've done in the past. And then also something you should do is be tracking your performance week to week. If you can see things going in a bad direction with your manager trying to say that you're not good enough to do the job, just make sure you track what you're doing and track all of this before a PIP starts. So you can say what you're doing, what other co-workers are doing, you're tracking things, you're making sure you're accountable for what's going on. The different type of performance analysis you should make is about how you're working with others, what projects you're working on, how much time it's taking, track everything via email in a written format. This is how you should do it and how you should accurately make sure you're defending yourself throughout the PIP and before the PIP. And as I say, if you're given a 3 to 6 month buffer period of you, they're probably going to fire you at the end of it, even if you do a good job. Just start looking for another job and putting in less effort at work. And also, at that point, you should consider all your options. Consider, what the severance package would be if they do fire you at the end. Will they pay you something or not? Any company benefits you can use in that 3 to 6 month period, health benefits, whether it's therapy sessions, their corporate gym, any type of vouchers and discounts you could get from the company, from their corporate portal. Try to look into that. There's short-term disability options. Could you take family leave, medical leave? There is some family medical legal protections that you could use. So if you have a mental health issue, you can maybe take 2 to 3 months off work, saying you have some kind of mental issue with a doctor's note, and that could buy you some extra time to recover before you return to work. And then also consider any unemployment benefits the company might be offering also. So it's worthwhile considering all of this. Essentially, what you're preparing for is a 3 to 6 month buffer before you have to find your next job. Now, in this short clip, we're going to think about how a PIP is really setting you up to fail. So don't buy the corporate Kool-Aid that they want to help you improve your performance. They're really just trying to get rid of you.
And this is another big one, and it's that you're placed on a performance improvement plan, also called a PIP for short. Whether or not it's justified, your boss and HR have conspired to put you onto a performance improvement plan. And that performance improvement plan is not one that they're setting you up to succeed with. C.4. When a performance improvement plan is well constructed and done the way that really they should be, is that it should be getting you the tools and the resources and the focus that you need in order to succeed and to improve your performance. That's why it's called a performance improvement plan. Unfortunately, too many organizations have structured PIP so that they're a way of coaching people out of the business, and it's one step away from Cansville.
So essentially a PIP is setting you up to fail, as she said here, right? They're always going to give you some unrealistic, unachievable goals. They're already going to nitpick things. Some things, I'll give you an example I've dealt with of things that were leading up to a PIP. They were raising completely ridiculous performance issues about me. They were saying that I was putting too many bullet points on emails. Some of my emails were too long. I had different fonts in an email. There was only 1 or 2 instances of that where I was using a company format that had different fonts, so I didn't really want to change it. It was a company template. But if they're nitpicking about the font you're using on an email, the bullet points on your email, and they're saying the way you write an email is a bit too long, and they're raising that as a major performance issue, that's what I mean. They're setting you up to fail, right? And in terms of whether things are achievable, typically, like I say, it won't be something, it'll be so vague. It won't be that they'll set you some really high performance standards that you have to meet. They'll just be so vague that, in terms of the performance they're expecting from you, that it will just set you up where they could just say, oh, anything is not meeting the requirements of the performance that we'd expect. So they need to document your failure before a layoff. They're protecting themselves legally. That's what you should see as a performance improvement plan. They're just protecting themselves legally from you pursuing litigation against them for firing you unfairly. So we're going to think a bit more about the corporate environment in this next clip.
Let's jump into it. So the first sign that you're going to get fired is that you have a decrease in your performance review rating, or you are receiving negative feedback from your manager. This, of course, despite the fact that you are a steady performer who is consistently delivering results. Because when you're digging into it, what you're actually finding behind that feedback and behind those performance reviews is a lot of nitpicking. For example, maybe you achieved the KPI, you hit your sales quota, but they didn't like the way in which you did it. So they're taking issue with that, even though the outcome was the outcome that was necessary. Another thing that arises is that a lot of the negative feedback or the negative performance reviews is based on attitude or fit. Now, of course, if you have an attitude problem or if you're a terrible culture fit for the company overall, those things would be valid. However, the big issue that I take here, and get your tea ready for this rant, is that behind those things is really just saying, you're not like us. And
now, to quote Kendrick Lamar's recent song, They Not Like Us, right? It's kind of funny because this is what it is. When you're in the workplace, they want you to share the same kind of mentality of other co-workers. So if they have a particular TV show they're watching, political views, sports they're watching, whether it's NFL, NBA, things like that, they want you to play along with the social dynamics at work, right? They're gossiping about reality TV shows. They want you to be integrated into that. And when it comes to attitude fit and cultural fit for a company, these are completely BS things. They can't define that. How can you define if someone has a good attitude for a job, if they have a good fit for a particular job? It's hard to define that. Do you get what I mean? A company could say, oh, you have a bad attitude at work, and you're like, what do you mean? Or you have an attitude like it comes across you don't care about the job. And it's like, can you give me specific examples? They're like, oh, you just don't seem too enthusiastic. Well, I'm getting the work done, right? So maybe I don't. Do you get what I mean? They can define attitude and fit in any way they want, right? And often they want to discriminate against you. If they want to discriminate against you on the basis of race or gender, they can't do that. So they have to come up with a vague term, like it's your attitude, you have a bad attitude. And a lot of times people from different cultures have different approaches to work, right, in terms of your personality. So some different cultures, they might be a bit more laid back, but you've got to play this over top character where you can't be laid back at work even if you're getting the job done. And also the other signs you should look out for that you could be fired, whether it's a PIP or otherwise, is that they give you some different work, or they give you certain project work where it's obvious that work's going to be done in the next month or two and there's no other projects after that. That means they're looking to fire you essentially. They're giving you less and less work and moving more work of your standard day-to-day job to someone else. If they're moving work away from you that you would do on a daily basis to someone else, that means they're looking to fire you. They're moving work to other team members, and then on paper, when they're justifying legally firing you and giving you a layoff, they say, oh, well, he's not needed on the team. We've got other people doing work that he used to do. He's a kind of an additional team member. The business kind of doesn't need this extra help, so we're going to fire him, things like that, right? And also, when they transition work away from you, like significant amounts of work, you should, again, start looking for another job, because these are another signs that they're looking to get rid of you, right? And also think about all the paper trail, right? Leading up to the PIP, after the PIP, anything in writing, you should keep everything in writing. Who's saying what to who, what's good, if you're being treated fairly or not, what happened on particular days and times, because they're doing the same thing about you. They're building up a narrative that they don't think you're good at the job. They don't need you to be working here. Now, obviously, the likely outcome at the end is that they'll fire you, and maybe they'll give you a 3 months pay because as a layoff, severance package, things like that. But more often than not, you need to protect yourself legally the same way they are. They're giving you tons of paperwork to agree to, the PIP, your performance reviews, things like that. All the things you're legally agreeing to, and you maybe sign giving an e-signature online. They're planning paperwork against you. So you should do the same in a nice way. The same way they're being passive aggressive and tracking everything you're doing and saying, you should do the same with them.
You are taking. It's also a great place to request clarification. The fourth sign that you might get fired at work is an extraordinarily toxic behavior, and that is they are setting you up to fail. And this shows up in a ton of different ways. First, they're giving you the impossible tasks. Oh, this person has been working on this problem for 2 years. You have a week to solve it. Similarly, they might just be giving you too much work, where you know that the capacity is 2x or 3x what anyone else is dealing with and what would be a reasonable workload given the time and importance of the work that you are doing. This can also show up in sabotaging the work that you're doing, such as leaving you out of key meetings on projects that you're working on, or failing to communicate important things that cause you to mess up in the future. And again, I know a lot of these behaviors are very prevalent in toxic work environments, but getting fired from a toxic work environment is also something that happens not infrequently.
So this is another important point, right? Like I say, they're setting you up to fail. Are they giving you too much work, too little work? I've dealt with it in the sense of, I'll be doing one piece of work and they'll be asking me hyper-technical questions about another piece of work that I just haven't been involved in. And it's like, we've done a simple project on it. I'm not going to know some super technical detail about what's this one piece of financial legal regulation about a particular topic. It's like, well, I'm not going to know that because I haven't worked on it in that detail. And another thing is they'll leave you out on meetings. They'll do meetings and projects, and then they'll dump work on you, but you're not invited to the meeting, so you don't know everything that's going on. You've been given half a story. And the other thing is you'll notice managers and co-workers might get a bit distant from you, because typically you have this very kind of gossipy workplace environment these days. Lots of people might know rumors that you might be potentially put up for a layoff, or you're less popular at work. And like I say, the workplace is a popularity contest. The rumors might start that you might be leaving, or the manager might be expecting you to leave. And typically the manager these days will always be gossiping with their favorite co-worker, and that co-worker might gossip with other people, and everything becomes some kind of weird popularity contest with loads of rumors that could be acting against you. So if you sense people are being distant from you, not being friendly as co-workers, things like that, leaving you out on meetings, making jokes about you, disrespecting you, that means that they kind of see you as a write-off and they can just say anything they want. And I dealt with that one time at a particular company where I dealt with a kind of verbally abusive co-worker, because these people try to play power games with you, with your life, with your income, with your way of living in this society, which is working to live, right? So it's kind of crazy, and it's very interesting. And I recommend you bear that in mind when you are trying to motivate yourself to pursue your financial freedom and pursue your way out of this performance trap, as you can see on your screen right now. Toxic co-workers, toxic managers. I always envision, reaching a point where, I could stand up to those people without being afraid, they're going to ruin my career, ruin my reputation in the industry if I address them directly. And I feel like that's where we're leading in terms of my career coaching. If you're new to the channel, I've worked at these other companies, Goldman, Morgan Stanley, and so on, in finance for over 10 years. I have career advice services, the link's in description. I think what I'm trying to do is help people stand up for themselves in these very difficult situations, either directly or over the longer term. In the short term, dealing with those difficult scenarios, but over the longer term, being financially free from this system that's trying to hold people down, and treat people like they're second-class citizens. So that's very important to consider, right? It's something to motivate yourself of getting out of this system and being able to, outside of work in the future, stand up to people who are bullying you in the workplace, which is a major problem that do lead to PIPs, lead to being laid off unfairly. So the most important thing when it comes to dealing with a PIP or a layoff scenario potentially coming up is always trusting your instincts, right? You're trusting your instincts is the most important thing. If you sense changing social dynamics, changing workplace environments, these things could be shifting against you, and that's how you should adapt your approach to work to maneuver around that, right? And make sure if the company's trying to play you, you're 5 steps ahead. You're already looking for another job. If you know a PIP's coming down the road or a layoff potentially coming up, you're already looking for a job before they lay people off. And then there's multiple people searching for the same jobs as you, and increases the competition in the job market. So understand those type of dynamics. Hope these tips helped you. If you want to speak with me directly, feel free to reach out to me at the link in description. And there are 2 recommended videos on your screen right now. I'll see you in the next video.